This is the Situation Room of Television Nigerian, where we discuss everything COVID-19, the impact on the society, and of course, the economy. I am Charles Ibe. Welcome on board. And on this edition, we will be giving you an update, as usual, about where Nigeria is in the fight against COVID-19. And also we'll talk about efforts of these very important members of the society in the fight against COVID-19. Talking about journalists, the fourth estate of the realm. Victor Tehemba also is in the new.
Thank you, good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And also we have Comrade Asukwo joining us.
Thank you very much.
All
Afternoon.
Right. You're welcome. And also to let you know that you are also a very big part of this situation room today. So as usual, you can drop your comments, you can call us, our numbers are on the screen. Call and tell us, how do you feel? What is happening right now, especially as the lockdown temporarily lifted, or is it totally lifted? We don't know. We are in the room, you tell us how it is in your area, especially in Abuja, Lagos, Ogun State, and the situation wherever you find yourself or wherever you are watching us right now. Gentlemen, Nigeria, again, we are free. Do we say? We say we are free to roam. We say we are. It's a pseudo freedom. Okay, they call it partial. So how partial is partial, and how free is free?
Well, for the longest time of at least for 35 days, the entire Nigerian populace have been basically waiting to have that freedom to go out. So to them, they don't at this moment they don't know what's different between partial and total. So because they are just going as long as government has said there's going to be an easing of the lockdown, it means at this point in time people can move. Like you need to see the scenes from today. It means people are just going all out in droves, like going to work. It's time to work. It has been lifted and everything. So to them there is no difference between partial and total. They're just going about their business as long as now they know that they have the freedom to move.
Comrade Asubu.
Yes.
I know you, for the greater part of this whole thing, must have been watching us on the screen. And right now you are in the room. So let's have your views. Tell Nigerians, how has it been right from the time this thing was announced and right now, where we are?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Charles. Basically, it hasn't been easy for the general public and indeed all of us, because man is first and foremost a free moral agent. He's a social being. He's meant to interact. He's meant to socialize with his fellow counterparts. And Nigerians, I can tell you, didn't take this very, very lightly. And it has been from one phase of struggle to another. And now the federal government is coming up with a temporal relaxation of the lockdown. And just like Nigerians, of course, trust, as though they've been released from a cage or something, just like my friend Victor rightly said, most of them cannot really tell which is partial and which is total. And I can tell you, we do, assuming, are bound to have situations coming up subsequently, because if there is no proper sensitization as to the ease of the lockdown, we might begin to see a newer rise of cases in respect to this pandemic here and there, because some persons might want to play down the partial lockdown and want to take it to the extreme. As we all know, Nigerians, we always like taking opportunity of very little advantages provided to us. So we just pray and hope that the necessary agencies do their best, security agencies and the NDC and all of that, puts the necessary policy in place so that the relaxation will not be a complete total lose. Yes.
All right, now, you mentioned agencies, government, or other people, every other group, more of a group thing. Now, individuals, actually. Do you think from, when was this date that this lockdown was placed?
It was on the 30th of April.
30th of April. Now, till date, do you think, from your interaction, even within your neighborhood, within family members, within friends that you can come in, and you've come in contact within the limits, you understand, the lockdown allowed you. Do you think it has really sunk into the psyche of Nigerians that, yes, we have a situation, and we really have to defeat this?
Yeah, we well, around my neighborhood and within where I stay, I can tell you most persons within the area where I stay believe that there is a situation at hand that we actually need to collectively handle. But Nigerians, being it as we always are, we always take things lightly until it comes to the cruise, basically, some persons have actually accepted what has actually befallen us as a global pandemic, some of which have adhered to the government stay-at-home policy, and then some persons have also, I can remember a friend of mine, I think last week, in spite of the fact that he knew about the stay-at-home order and all of that, he decided to hang out. And then he was telling me subsequently, I think the security agencies had to, do their normal checks, and then they got into where they were actually sitting. It was a sit-out, and then they picked quite a number of them. And unfortunately, he was a legal practitioner, a lawyer, and he was apprehended. And then, of course, the normal fine was paid, and then he was released, and he learnt his lesson. And I was asking him, you being a legal person, you know the do's and don'ts, and why did you still have to go this actually? He said it was just within his environment and all of that, So you can see how Nigerians have a perception about the lockdown situation, and then the relaxation now being the newest on our hands now. So we really still have a lot to do, and definitely the government sure do have a lot of work to do relaxing this particular lockdown at this time. Last week I was watching some of the interviews on air. Most Nigerians were like, why are you locking down? Give us more palliatives. Let's just stay at home, So, and I was like, but these are people that always wanted to go about their normal activity.
Yeah.
So I did my own mathematical survey. I saw that most persons preferred the palliative measures and stay at home than the relaxation of the lockdown.
Okay, now, Victor, I believe when you were coming this morning, you must have seen, observed how the whole city looks like. I mean, the long queues, people trooping out, despite the fact that there was a set of guidelines released that certain people from certain areas are not supposed to come. I mean, some people from the satellite towns are not supposed to resume. And is that like the level, from grade level, so and so is supposed to resume? Yeah. But it appears people still trooped out anyway. And then what did you also observe in terms of the other adhering to hand washing, distancing, wearing of the nose mask, and especially the transport system? Okay, did you notice about one driver and one person or two persons? How was it like?
Basically, all guidelines that were given for this relaxation, all of them, so far from what I've noticed this morning, they were all less than disregarded. Not just only in Abuja, it's the same situation. In fact, it's actually worse in Lagos. So this transport system in Abuja here, mostly the cabs, the along what they call cabs, they're supposed, usually on their normal operation, they pick 2 at the front and 4 at the back, making 6 passengers in total, and that is what continued even this morning. And we are coming from the less than satellite towns. They also realize that not only civil servants live in that satellite towns, many people who work here. So there was much traffic coming from, whether you're coming from Airport Road or you're coming from Gwarimpa Express. Yeah, that's it. You're coming from Yanya Express. It's been major traffic everywhere. Banks are also experiencing large crowds. At the in fact, when you go to less than GTB in Gariki too, they have been unable to control the crowd because a lot of people are coming right there. It's the same situation you go even in Lagos at BRT. In Lagos, where they have just 20 passengers in a whole BRT bus, but then the social distancing, it seems, is only going to be observed inside the bus but not outside the bus, because at the recent BRT stands, you see people clustered together waiting for the bus on the queue. No social distance. So basically, they buy the ticket and they enter the bus, and then they sit individually on each row or whatever it is. It still defeats this in particular purpose. Not just only this, the BRT stand, other normal public bus stops as well. It's also crowded. People are rushing for buses. The thing is, they know two people are going to sit on one seat in Danfo, so they are in this rush to make sure they get in first and all of that. So that same essence of giving that guidelines to adhere to social distancing is also defeated. Face masks that was supposed to be made using compulsory, so that and then there's also this threat that those who don't have it will be arrested and prosecuted.
Yes.
So far so good. Nobody has been arrested or prosecuted. Okay, that we know of so far, and then we know of many people who don't have the face mask, but they're already outside patrolling. It's going to be very difficult, really. Maybe in this first week, it's going to be very difficult controlling this crowd. We don't know any other better way that the Eastern government would have gone with it. Maybe if they have come with like a homegrown solutions or something like that, then it would have been different. At the same time, government was running with this pressure as well. When the whole thing started, people were pressuring government to go on lockdown, declare lockdown. But then government took time. They were kind of less reluctant to impose the lockdown, but eventually they did. And at the time where they lifted the lockdown, it was also pressure coming out from other people, from the citizens, that we can't be suffering. Perhaps, maybe if the decent palliatives that government said they were going to give out were decent provided, maybe people would have relaxed with the agitation to come out for the lockdown to be relaxed. Yes. So maybe they would have preferred to sit at home. Like you said earlier, that from his own survey, people prefer to stay at home, let government provide the palliative to stay at home. Because the reason why
since it wasn't coming, then everybody had to go out to look for something.
And then immediately they say we are easing the lockdown. Imagine the number of people that came out. People going to the bank to get money, people going to the market for whatever, to sell or to do or to buy. Whatever the case may be. So far so good. It has been a very poor result in observing the guidelines.
Well, very poor result in observing the guidelines so far. But let's not hope the government is being overwhelmed. Talk about the government agencies like the security agencies. Already we have a situation in the health sector when they're talking about bed spaces to accommodate the COVID-19 patients. Talking about going into even converting private places to accommodate all of that. And perhaps somehow, somewhere, that feeling that this whole thing wasn't really handled very well. But we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and talk some more on the Situation Television Nigeria. And join us again. Welcome back. Now, just to give you a little quick update, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control on Sunday night confirmed 170 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. And the breakdown of the infections figure by state on a state-by-state basis shows the following: as Lagos had 39, Kano 29, Ogun 24, Bauchi 18, Kaduna 15, FCT 12, Sokoto 12, Katsina 8, Borno 7, Nasarawa had 3, Adamawa 2, and Oyo 1. Now, with the latest discoveries, Nigeria's confirmed COVID-19 cases are now increased to 2,558, with the number of discharged persons also increasing to 40, with 87 deaths. Now, every day, every time, keep talking about numbers rising, not decreasing. So, would you say this whole lockdown situation, stay at home, all of that. When we started this stay at home, we were at 111, with just about two deaths and about maybe 10 or thereabout, some couple of numbers of recoveries. But now, at the time of lifting it partially, in fact, we are still recording more and more. It's on an exponential rise. So, was it actually wise locking down and then lifting up? Let's just take it whole in perspective.
Well, at this time, I'm basically looking at the whole table in a very different light, and I see that whether we lock down and then we are not lifting the lockdown, I think to me right now it doesn't really matter. So maybe perhaps if I'm basically looking at my own decent data from where I'm seeing it on the table, then maybe the lockdown should have been continued, because now we don't have a unique solution to this tackle.
Yes.
So maybe we could have just gone ahead with it. Government should have resisted the pressure, but then people also have to survive. But then government resist the pressure would have also meant that government has to be proactive in making sure that the palliatives were delivered to these citizens, just as they promised that they were going to deliver the palliative. Because when you look at it, now the thing is, the last time we were here, we discussed the death rate to have moved to about 6 people to 1, right?
Yes.
And now, at 87 deaths, 400 less and recoveries, that is very poor.
Very, very.
So it means that the death rate is quite high. Yeah. So at this moment, it means that even we are lifting the lockdown, or we're taking up the lockdown, by the rate of that recovery, it means that there is no really much hope. I say it means that you are more likely to be a decent casualty of the virus if you get the virus down to recover. At 87 deaths, sorry but I have to compare to other countries. In South Africa, for example, at the time they recorded 87 deaths, they already had 5,200 cases. We haven't gotten up to that.
Having a good number of deaths.
And then the recovery, at the time South Africa had 87 deaths, their recoveries are about 1,000 something, 1,347. So, and we here, we already have 87, and recovery is 400 so far. So it means that whatever we used to complain about this healthcare is coming into play here. The basically lack of facilities, the lack of equipment, and the other things that, if it's personnel, we lack also the personnel. But if the personnel that are qualified to handle it, we do not lack those ones, but then we lack them in number. We lack giving them the adequate these facilities and equipment to work with, and everything now coming into play. 87 deaths at that rate is quite alarming, and I think this is the time that Nigerians basically have to look at it. If you had never taken this COVID-19 serious, you don't need to take it very serious. That perhaps if you have it, because you are in Nigeria at the moment, you are likely not to recover from it to go, because at the rates which people are, even when you look at the US that has recorded over 50,000 deaths from the coronavirus, their death rate is still quite little, and then when you look at their recovery, it's in the hundreds of thousands. So when you compare the whole ratio to whatever, then you find out that maybe for the US, for example, about 37 people have to get well before one person will fall to the coronavirus.
Comrade, are you worried anyhow by all these figures?
Well, first and foremost, let me start by saying in any system where there is no adequate structure on ground, there's bound to be a rupture. Looking at it from inception, I think I was watching the presidential task force when the
regular updates.
The regular update. I think the secretary to the federal government, the SFG, made a very, very, very striking statement to say that until he was actually assigned this task of being the chairman of the presidential task force, he didn't know that our health sector was this bad.
Has he not been in Nigeria?
He spoke from the privileged standpoint. These are people that have the money that once they get in,
they fly
out, or they can afford
that is the issue. That is the issue,
Nigeria.
Mr. Victor. That's the issue. You see, I talked about having a structure. You see, if we had actually had a well mapped out structure for our health system From inception, I think we would have been able to curtail most of the death toll in our hands. You see, at a point, the rising death toll in China started dropping, where this whole thing emanated from, and at some point it ceased completely. Now, you might want to ask, what was the reason for that seizure within that period? So what measures did they actually put in place, being that this was actually a place where this whole pandemic started? That means there was something they did that we are not actually doing. You see, we live in a country, sorry to say, where we have too much analysis and we don't actually take measures to implement some of those analyses that were actually proffered by either professionals or corporate bodies who actually have the wherewithal to actually bring in solutions into the problems we have. Now, looking at the studio, for instance, I'm now digressing. This is a television station, and everything is done orderly. There are templates for what should be done part time. Now, if those templates are not followed, there's bound to be a challenge. So it's just normal common sense that we have played politics, and we have played with the lives of normal Nigerians, and we have had this whole thing, get out of our hands. And now, with this relaxation, I'm even asking myself, Mr. Charles, what becomes the next story we want to begin to hear? If with the lockdown, we keep having increasing cases.
Exactly. And
now we are relaxing. So what are we expecting to have? I mean, looking at it, are there measures that have been necessitated? Now, the palliatives, talking about the palliatives, someone said, if it is possible to get a NEPA bill to each and every home in Nigeria, that means it is possible for palliatives to reach every door. So now the thing is, what measures have been taken that palliatives are actually well spread?
Well,
and do they reach the targeted audience? You hear people say every day, I've not gotten anything, and yet you hear on television that palliatives was disbursed. What measure?
The issue here for the government is not how to get the palliatives to the people. It is getting the palliatives itself before you can begin to. They don't. So when you finally look at the fact that say they are sharing palliatives, in this Abuja, we live in head of Kwali and maybe Abaji. We don't know whether these people in Kuji or Sangogulado or Yanya or in that Buari as whether they got it.
And the ones you just see are just individuals, churches or organizations just coming out to assist.
Yeah, exactly. So the problem hasn't been how to get it done. If government wants to get it down to even to the most interior villages, they know how they're going to get it.
And not to talk about the rice issue of Oyo, and still when they talk about spoiled rice and all of that.
Yeah.
But then another issue,
the customs is
the relaxation of this lockdown, actually, when we talk about international best practices, Nigeria always want to follow, like, okay, some countries have lifted partially or whatever, or copy the template. Isn't it a source of worry that, okay, maybe a week or 2 days before, I think it was last week that it was announced that today there are going to be a partial lockdown. What have been put in place within that time and now? Other places would have seen fumigation of public places, and then preparations for people to come out. But was there, maybe, I don't know, it escaped me, did you notice any of such in any way? And is it going to be a kind of problem? Because there's fear, there are a lot of fears that this thing now might even escalate.
Definitely, the fears are well founded, and it's likely that it's going to escalate. And like I said here early last week, on this same day, Monday last week, that the president saying we are going to ease the lockdown, what it basically meant was that Nigerians, you are now on your own. You and the immune system will have to fight this stuff. And basically, you saw it from all indication. That is what
they did.
Like you said, there was no lesson of fumigation of any place. The only thing they did was to bring out guidelines, rules, and regulations with threats of sanctions attached to it. But then nothing coming out from the parts of the government to say we are going to do. So there was no fumigation. Look at Lagos State, for example. They also brought out their own guidelines. Just as I read the first few lines of the guidelines, I knew this thing wasn't going to work, especially in a state like Lagos. You're asking Danfo drivers to pick just 2 passengers per seat, and each Danfo has about three seats, so which means they are going to pick just 6 passengers at the back. On a normal day, these people pick as much as 12 passengers at the back. So that means you have cut their revenue by half. Usually, in these circumstances, before these guidelines, they had already increased transport fare. Now you're asking them to pick two people per seat. Then it means it is also going to increase. Per seat. Then there's also going to be shortage of transport.
Exactly.
The same thing you did for the BRT. You would expect that since the BRT has some sort of connection with the government, there should be this sort of subsidy for transport in the BRT.
Yes.
Instead, there was also hike in price in the BRT buses as well. So it means they are also going to be shortage, and that is why today we saw a lot of people gathered at the bus stops waiting for buses. It's the reason why people were rushing to get. So basically, there was nothing.
No plan.
Especially in Lagos State, where they understand that they have millions of people that crowd the area. If it's on a state that has like 5 million people, we understand some of these measures. Or state that has like 4 million people, but we're talking about 15 to 20 million people in a very small island like in Lagos, and then you're putting this measure. There's nothing. Government is not giving out anything. So government is now operating like this corporate body that wants this to happen without them giving out anything. They don't want to go at loss. We expected subsidized transport there. Let it go. Are there going to be more this BRT buses going to be this put out for it to convey people from one point to another? How is it? How many less than civil servant workers do you have in Lagos that when you say some are not going to resume, we have more people hustling in Lagos than more people working in government offices?
Well, quite worrisome.
Very, very, very worrisome.
And given the something that is already in the news about the community spread of the COVID-19, it's a real source of worry. Now, the presidential technical team sent to Kano State by President Muhammadu Buhari has raised the alarm that the rate of community transmission was high in Kano State. The head of the team, Dr. Nasiru Gwazo, raised the alarm in an interview with the Hausa service of the BBC, saying 80% of 100 samples sent to testing always came back positive. And also we saw in the news where they said about 50% of the Almajiris that...
50?
Yes.
No, it wasn't 50, no, just 50 figure.
Okay, Almajiri that came back to Kaduna State tested positive. Now, community spreading, that is the most disastrous. I mean, before it used to be an elitist thing, and everybody for the rich men. Now, Almajiris, as common as Almajiris are having it. And that is a very, very... These are very, very mobile people. They move without any hindrance. And now, to start with, was it even wise trooping them back, relocating them back to their state? In the news this day, we also heard that Nasarawa State also has joined the bandwagon of repatriating Almajiris.
I think it is a headless and mentality policy from the governors. One this governor does it, and then the rest governors just want to pick on it and do. And then one thing that these governors from the north have to understand that in every state in the north there are Almajiris, including those that are doing the deportation. So it means if Kano deports from Kano to Kaduna, Kaduna can also deport from Kaduna back to Kano. So if you send your people back to Zamfara, Zamfara also send people back to you. So it's like you guys are just exchanging the COVID-19 patients that you basically have. So being that 80% of the samples in Kano coming out positive, it's a very worrisome thing, and that is what people were really afraid that it should not get to where it should not get to the community level. Because community level people, their community, they interact, they mingle a lot. And once it gets to that level, and these are people, and then this is what the World Health Organization was actually warning about. That
when they were talking about Africa.
Yes, so they especially in Nigeria, that when you look at our less than suburbs, our shanties and all that, they have a very fertile ground for this virus to spread. Because these are people that basically lack water, so definitely they have to come out in large numbers for water.
Not just for a lot of amenities.
There's no sanitation. You want people to keep good hygiene. These areas are not areas good enough for people to keep good hygiene, all of that. And now whatever the World Health Organization, though they call them prophets of doom, now it's only coming into play. Before, like you said, this number coming out were the elites, and right now the larger number of these people coming out are people at this community level, Yeah, so it's very worrisome because when you get to that level, then we might not see the end of it in a quick time, and then we might basically get overwhelmed. And at the point, government might just hands off.
Exactly. And also coupled with the news that majority of, I think it was the NCDC now that, or is it the presidential task force that came to clarify that the deaths we had in Kano, the mysterious deaths, so to speak, now they're actually from COVID-19. Yeah, so that means if you have to add those figures of deaths to the ones we have now, that means it's really a way out of hand.
Now you want to look at what is the testing capacity in Kano State. Kano, as we know, is a large commercial city, one of the largest in the northern part of this country. In a country where we have 200 million Nigerians, so to speak, and you are testing 11,000, and you want to ask what is the comparison with that figure and the numbers of persons on ground. I think that was why last week the Minister of Health was actually speaking on having to move some health experts to the NDCC to Kano State, so that they might be able to see how they can curtail the death toll of the rise in this pandemic. I think this is now a worrisome situation, and the state government, I said on this set last week that the state government of Kano State and the federal government should be able to come to a place of synergy where they begin to see how they can provide solution to actually drop the death tolls. Else, we'll keep on having a rise, a consistent rise in the death toll in Kano State. And I think another worrisome issue, Mr. Charles, is the fact that we keep having figures. They say, okay, we've discharged XYZ number of patients who have tested negative, and then now my question is what measures have been taken? Because I watched last week the speaker to the Edo State to the speaker to Edo State, State House of Assembly, in the person of Right Honorable Francis Okoye. He was actually a survivor of the COVID-19. So I watched a live interview with NTA 24 where he was actually asked how he actually, he started giving an analysis of how he contacted it, and then the managing modalities that actually led to his recovery. And he said all of those things. And I said, if a high-profile Nigerian of that pedigree was a victim, and then there were extreme measures, and he was actually recovered from this pandemic, then it is actually right to say that such measures that were actually deployed to get him stable should also be deployed to some of the patients we actually have. That means there is something working. Because for something to have worked for him, that means it can work for any other patient that has actually contacted the virus.
And I think that is you just brought up a point that is very scary anyway for people. Just to try this in common man. This virus, when push comes to shove, those that are basically going to survive it are the rich ones. These are the ones that have the resources to corner the little resources in the health sectors we have. When you even look at it, most of the high-profile cases that we saw got affected, most of them recovered. From the Kaduna State Governor to the Bauchi State Governor, whether it's Oyo State Governor or the...
Okay, are you in a way implying that there may be some partial treatment? As in that if in those places there are partial, people are treated regarding... Because of their status, they attend to them
with speed.
There are people in this country, Nigeria, right, who who have been calling the NCDC
And
for the past 2 days.
They can't even pick
Yes,
up calls.
and even the ones that they have picked up their calls, they keep telling you we'll send somebody to you. Nobody has
And you not
said.
get
But
it.
in that time, somebody important has fallen into this COVID-19
And
and places a call
Yeah,
and immediately
yeah.
is there.
Yeah.
So that's what I say. At the point that these ordinary people, we didn't need to now begin to take care of ourselves, because at the end of the day, you don't have anybody standing for you. You can't say you have a government standing in place for you. You
But
have to take
some
care of
people from
yourself.
the NCDC might beg to disagree, because the lines they give out that are made to the public, except maybe there are some private lines that the public don't know about, that the people now call into, because if it is also that same line that everybody can call and you are being ignored, so how come if a governor calls, they will
So-
pick? Do they have a technicality
point
that you
is
should know
not-
this is the governor calling,
Okay,
or
two
this is
things.
an important Nigerian calling?
Truth is, right now, it is not even about calling. Okay, by the time you call, they actually pick some calls. But then let's assume that that toll-free line is the only channel you can get to call, and then somebody calls and says, "I am the governor of this," or "I am the speaker of this," whatever. You pay more attention than somebody else can say, "Please, my name is Victor Temba, I stay in Lube, and it's like I have symptoms of."
Or Nyanya, or Ojukwe, you know.
Stuff like that. They will not. But then again, understand that these are also VIP, so definitely they know somebody. For
Yeah,
Christ's sake,
yeah,
this
of
governor
course.
can just call the DG direct himself, or maybe it happens and then they can call somebody
And they will send the dispatch immediately.
just
You know,
almost immediately.
I said on this set that it's unfortunate that we live in a country where politics is being played with the lives of the ordinary Nigerian citizen in a serious pandemic such as what we have on ground. This is the worst it can get at this point, and is unfortunate because the federal government that is supposed to be looked at as a beacon of hope
Exactly.
and to the common man, and then they are failing in their responsibilities to act promptly to a normal citizen. You begin to ask yourself then, where does the common man now want to look up to as his place of hope or place of succor? You understand? Because it's actually unacceptable, and it's actually not right. It is not right.
Well, putting all of this in perspective, the Nigerian Union of Allied Health Workers have called on the president to immediately resign the decision to release to ease the lockdown, saying they should put back the lockdown in place, because it's not. I mean, and it was actually the wrong time to have lifted the lockdown. Now, this is coming from Allied Health Workers. The NMA also put in their reservation about this lockdown and all of that. So now, what do you think the president should be doing? Should he actually listen and clamp down the lockdown, or allow people, like you said, it is now you and your virus?
Now, Mr. Charles, you might want to ask, between the period the lockdown was initiated and now that it has actually been relaxed, how many weeks do we have in between? Now, you all want to ask the second question: was there actually a need for the lockdown? And then, if there was a need, then what is the need now for the relaxation? Looking at it, that the time frame does not really tally. It's actually too short a time.
So it was like premature.
You just placed the lockdown, and then after a few weeks, you are now relaxing it. So what are you expecting to have in such a situation? Just like Mr. Victor said, we are sure to have new stories in our hands in the coming days ahead.
So, Victor, if you talk to the president right now, what will you advise him?
I think the president has more qualified people that
but you're in
can
Nigeria.
advise.
Your life matters too, and your voice counts.
Yes. So for me, basically, I will advise the government advise the president that this is the time that he should stop ignoring homegrown people with homegrown solutions to this pandemic. It is time to try what is going to be unique with us. See, for example, let's say Madagascar case. It has not been proven worldwide or less scientifically that this COVID-19 can actually, the drug can actually cure COVID-19 or whatever. But so far, that was their own method. They have eased the lockdown. people are using that drink, that medicine. So far, they haven't lost anybody from this COVID-19.
But have they actually cured anybody?
Well, people are using it, and then people are getting well in because since they found that cure, that is what they've been using to treat people with the illness, and then people are recovering, and they haven't lost anybody yet.
Okay, now interestingly, I was on Friday or about on this set, we talked about an effort. In fact, we actually applauded an effort of some Catholic clergymen, and then in collaboration with some team of experts, researchers from NAFDAC, NIPRID, and then a specialist hospital in Edo State. They came up with a drug. I think it's a CVD Pax Plus or something like that. That that's gone through clinicals. And it's also government agencies. So now, why are we not hearing about this drug? Why is nobody talking about it? And like the way Madagascar is flaunting their own, does it mean something is wrong somewhere?
Definitely in Nigeria, when things don't go that way, you see, there are some things that you say, this thing should have happened. You expect that common sense would have made it happen. It is not as if those who are in charge to make this happen, not that they don't know that this will not happen, but the thing is, if they make it happen in this way, they begin to count their own losses. Like, if it's going to happen this way, then we might lose in this particular area and all of that. So this time, this is the time that some people are really embezzling money from this
cashing
whole,
out.
Yeah, you can use that. This is the time that some people are basically cashing out from the whole. Well, if you already have two government agencies partnering with this Catholic Church and the hospital to come with something, then we should be hearing about it. We should see the government leading the campaign that we are coming out with something. This could have been used, because I know that right now when you lift the sanction, people say it's too premature, which I agree. Just 35 days in a lockdown, you lift the lockdown without any possible solution, nothing. And the only reason why they lifted that lockdown was because they cannot keep to the responsibility of saying want to give people palliative. If they had given people palliative, they would have stayed at home. They would look like, oh, if I'm staying at home, government is
taking care of me. So why should I go and
risk my life? And then that way, there's a better way to come in. In fact, the reason why under this lockdown, why it is still spreading, is because there was really no lockdown per se. The only lockdown that we found was just that businesses were not open, roads were a bit less than deserted, but we knew that people were still going out to hustle and nowhere. So in that place, the virus would have transmitted. We saw transport companies still working and packing people in their full these numbers as they can get. That way, the virus could still transmit. There was no way to manage. Madagascar manages. Let's come on us for the longest time. It was just last week, Friday was it, or Thursday, that they recorded their first case of this in COVID-19 in the country. Despite that, they have less than 5 cases so far. But then look at the speed at which the distant president is basically less than responding. Immediately declared a total lockdown. He has ordered for this in less than COVID
from Madagascar
as well. Like, for these few cases we have so far, let us quickly treat them, and once they get to it, we know that we don't have these cases down.
Exactly.
Waiting for a very long time, then the cases just keep accumulating, and then you are overwhelmed. Senegal has been doing a lot, that has one of the lowest death rate in the world. They too are also ordering for
the Madagascar
organics.
Yeah,
next and Tanzania also ordering for REITs and other people.
So Nigeria should not bother ordering, because already we have the CVD Pax Plus. We have the Maron that came up on this our platform here, and the man spoke very well, and he spoke convincingly of how these things can help boost your immune and all of that. And even if you look at what Madagascar did, it's also in line. It's organic.
It is not like it goes to attack the virus, but it builds the immune system to be strong enough to fight the virus.
To resist the virus. But then, comrade, isn't it also instructive that the World Health Organization is really kicking against? Because he kept saying these are not solutions, people should be careful, people should, in fact, not just like coming out to say don't take, but from their body language, from whatever they say, they are totally against whatever all these efforts these people are coming up with. How do we tally it down? And should Nigeria be also all just keep their hands folded and wait for whenever the vaccine comes from the World Health?
In a situation like this, Mr. Charles, I said on Spectacle that it's obvious that politics is being played between the World Health Organization and the Madagascar government, because I see no reason, as I said previously, why a solution is proffered to a global pandemic, and you want to begin to play around with solutions instead of opening avenues to welcome any possible solution that might ease what is a global pandemic, which is eating up at the speed of light. You know, just like you Victor said, common sense is not actually common, you know, particularly in a place where we have politics, you know, at the fabrics of what is actually supposed to be very, very serious. And at this point, I would like to say that the federal government shouldn't wait for one solution to fall from the sky and then before we launch out into actions. People are dying every day in their numbers. What the federal government would do, if I would suggest to them at this point, is to open up avenues for inventions, for innovations. For herbal experts, professionals that could actually bring their knowledge base on the table, so we'll be able to see how we can synergize and then prefer a lasting solution to what is actually eating us up as a people. Else we'll just keep at what we are seeing, and then it just keeps on going and going and going and going, and only God knows how long. I pray it doesn't get to that stage.
Before now, the government has always been singing about made in Nigeria, wear what you, is it like grow what you eat and eat what you grow, wear what you sow and sow what you wear, do stuff, and then Nigerians have their own homegrown solutions, and we are still waiting for World Health Organization.
But
so
then you know that hasn't just only been with the COVID-19. It has always been at the time that they were singing grow Nigeria, eat Nigeria, buy made in Nigeria and everything. And while they were singing it, they were still patronizing, importing. That was at the time that even the president got ill and then was still also flown abroad. And then we're like, so why are you not practicing what you preach? When we say made in Nigeria, we know we have cars being produced in Nigeria, and then you would have expected that all of these cars should be officially be made government cars, government official cars, even if it's just the federal government. You understand at least now there's confidence in whatever.
You know,
and also supporting the local.
I spoke about the recovery of the speaker of Edo State House of Assembly. I was careful to note in his dialogue with the presenter how that he talked about herbs being part of the remedies that were actually used to combat the health challenge that he was actually battling with. And all through history, particularly in Africa, we've seen that our herbal remedies have actually been working, you know. I know of some persons that have had to say, I took XYZ herb and then it worked for typhoid, it worked for malaria, you know, and it has been working, you know. And then the health sector is saying, don't just take anything, it has to go through the process, it has to be screened. Now the question is, how long do we have to wait for it to go through the process when people are dying in their torrent? I think the health sector should be able to synergize. These are professional doctors. You understand? They couldn't have just brought out something from the blues that is not working, because they know the implication of it, of course. So,
if not for anything, this one that government agencies, about 2 or 3 government agencies in consonance with the Catholic Church, and they are just they are experts, professors, researchers, and they put their heads together and brought out something, and government is still, they're not hearing or saying anything about it. So please, if I hope the health ministry is watching, NCDC, homegrown solutions to COVID-19 is right here in Nigeria. While we wait for whatever they're going to bring from the world, and let our people keep healing, like Madagascar is healing and even transporting, exporting it now to the to other parts of Africa and other parts of the world who are interested. All we should do right now is to ensure that our people get well. Those whose immune systems are down, this is something you take and your immunity will come up to be able to resist COVID-19 if actually you get infected. And then the solutions that we will always look for is right here in Nigeria and not with the World Health Organization. In fact, they should come here. take our blueprint and then make it global. Because it's a made in Nigeria solution for a global pandemic. Let's take a quick break. Let's go to the streets and find out how Nigerians actually anticipated this release, the relaxation of this lockdown. And we will come back after that. Join us again.
Most of the citizens in Nigeria will find it difficult for them to come back into their normal business because of their spend, or their squash the money they have, the little money they save.
This lockdown, it is going to be difficult for me because it will take time before most of my customers will start patronizing me again.
The lockdown is an opportunity. You open my eyes to do any other things. You know, before I used to repair the phone. But now when the lockdown come, I include other things to my business.
It's kind of like I'm going to start all over again, you know, because I've lost like many customers.
How do you think life is going to be after this pandemic? How do you think life is going to be in general, work and everything that's in?
Actually, it's not going to be the same because we have lost a lot. Honestly, it's like one beginning afresh. What we are seeing now, we are talking about economy of Nigeria. Although we don't have economy before, talking of going down. Look at the workers. Many people are going to lose their job. Life is not going to be easy. We only need God to succeed.
Where do you work?
Well, I'm a private sector. Are you going
to continue the job work after the pandemic?
Yeah, I'm going to continue. We are not going to give up. I'm going to continue no matter the situation. I know by hard working we are going to succeed one day.
What about your contacts and connections?
My contact and connection, they're all there. I have to work hard to connect them back. If I have lost any, I believe that I will connect them back by time. Time shall tell.
How is life has been going since the lockdown?
Actually, we thank God. Things have not been easy for us, but we thank God because everything that have the beginning has the end. But we are pleading for the government to please make it easy for the layman, at least for them to sustain, because it has not been easy.
Okay, what are you into? Where do you work?
You say?
Where do you work? What are you into?
Me, I'm an engineer. I repair phone.
Okay, after this lockdown, now, how do you think life is going to be?
After this lockdown, for the intelligent people, there is going to be going to be a moral lesson. At least people will know how to manage, economize the things they have in terms of difficulties. Understand?
In terms of your job, how is it going to look like in terms of your job?
The thing actually for me, the thing have affected my job because I used to carry 2 jobs like that. But since this lockdown began, one have stopped, and it is not government work that they pay me, so it affects my job in the other way around.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
To the lockdown, we have been finding it difficult because they know how to for patients to come back to get something. And the little we are very resources. And secondly, if we not come out, we cannot get something because we are not a government worker.
What are you into?
I'm repairing phone, and I said where the lockdown is out, I used to decide to be selling phone. See phone I'm selling on my house, on inside my bag, because there's nothing I can do to feed my family.
So after the lockdown, are you going to continue selling this phone?
After the lockdown, it's an opportunity. You open my eyes to do any other things. You know, before I used to repair the phone. But now when the lockdown come, I include other things to my business, which is the selling of the phone. So right now, after the lockdown, I will add sale of phone to my business, which is very good.
How do you think life is going to be in general? How will life be after lockdown?
After the lockdown, where the coronavirus is out of the country, we are going to be very, very happy because the coronavirus kill many people outside the world, and it's killing in Nigeria. But for we here, we have encountered the coronavirus. After the lockdown, life will be better by the grace of God.
I'm self-employed.
So how the work been going since?
I locked down my shop like since the lockdown. I don't open, I don't sell.
What do you sell?
I sell men clothes. I sell boutique.
So how do you think life is going to be after this lockdown?
After the lockdown, like I don't even know what to say. I'll just go back to my business and focus.
think this lockdown is going to affect your business after the...
It's kind of like I'm going to start all over again, you know, because I've lost like many customers. I just started and the shop has been locked down. So like I'm going to start again, like all over again, start making customers again, kind of.
So after this lockdown now, immediately they close. What are you going to do first?
First, I'll go and clean up my shop. Like once they just open the lockdown, clean my shop, set my things back and start again.
Since the lockdown due to the coronavirus of 10 that's affecting the world, Nigeria is being suffering by this virus that has caused a lot of people suffering. Although since the government declared the shutdown of the country, Nigeria itself, as we are not a lazy people, we still bear it. But after 2 weeks, we discovered that most Nigeria, the less privileged people, are suffering. So the coronavirus has displaced people in their normal living habitants.
What do you do? What are you into? Where do you work?
Yes, we are one of the biggest engineers in the Arts Plaza, Mararaba, Abuja. And due to the coronavirus, you can sit down, the lockdown, everybody is outside. Sometimes we stay, although we maintain the government's policy, which is the social distance, we observe the social distance between one and each other. But
so after this lockdown now, how do you think life is going to be after the lockdown?
Well, after the lockdown, I believe that most of the citizens in Nigeria will find it difficult for them to come back into their normal business because of their spend or their squash the money they have, the little money they save. So,
are you going to continue with your business after the lockdown? Or you
after the lockdown, I will continue to my business. I will still try and continue with my business because I almost eat my capital I use in the business.
What about your customers?
My customers, well, my customer will come back. Since they are my customers, they'll still come back to me. I don't know where they are now.
Don't you think you will lose some of them?
Yeah, the coronavirus will make me lose my customers.
Life it has been very difficult, very, very difficult. Like for most of us that the government did not even provide palliative for us, most especially us that are private business, self-employed business. You know, like after this lockdown now, I think things is going to be very difficult because like most of us that are doing business from our own capital, because I think for the past 30 days now, most of us might have used up our capital for business. Like most of us, after the lockdown, I think many of us will not even have money to, buy goods for our business to continue our business. There will be no money at all.
What are you into?
I'm into business also.
So your customers, how are you going to sustain them after the lockdown? How are you going to call them back in?
People like me, as a businessman, I think after this lockdown, it is going to be difficult for me because it will take time before most of my customers will start patronizing me again because themselves too, there's no money for them and it will take them time to have money before they will come and be patronizing me. So it will take a long time for me too to still get myself recovered also from the lockdown.
After lockdown, everybody should be okay.
So do you think this lockdown will affect any person's job or any angle?
No, after the lockdown, everybody should go normal to start his business.
Okay, so where do you work?
I work in the Plaza.
So after the lockdown, are you going to continue with your job?
Yes.
Thank you.
I work with National Bureau of Statistics.
How has it been since the lockdown? How's it been going?
I don't life will be okay. In the economic, things will be seriously tough. Like food item, like now, prices in the market is increasing every day. Like, can you imagine one model of rice now is 900 naira, foreign rice, and local rice, some places you can buy it 800 naira. So everything is very tough. It's not easy.
What about people? Do you think people will lose their job or after this thing, or how can you say about this?
Nobody will lose their job. I believe nobody will lose their job. So you have to come when everything is over. You have to come to the work every day, every blessed day. But we have to, wherever there is crowd, you have to distance yourself. Social distance, then.
Now the match, na so grandpa friends carry coronavirus go their house. Before you know, they don't throw away and give everybody for yard. Na so corona enter box 18 and he say goal!
My people, if we give coronavirus chance, it go win all of us. Protect yourself and your family. Stay inside your house and make sure say you dey wash your hand with soap and water at least 12 times a day. If you get cough and fever and it dey hard you to breathe, call 0800 026 7662. Corona dey kill. Make we careful o.
Thanks for joining us again. This is the Situation Room of Television Nigerian. In case you're just joining us, we've been talking about coronavirus in Nigeria, especially now that the lockdown was relaxed in Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun State. What are a lot of you are skeptical about the releasing the lockdown, and we've seen some concerns raised and all of that. But then it's there, and people are moving. People have to move. Businesses have to start again. So basically, what would you be telling Nigerians right now as it is? Let's forget about palliatives. It's not coming. So even if it's something.
Well, it will be different from what government has been telling them, but from the angle that Nigeria should begin to look at it, that they only have themselves, there are other people as well, because when you maintain these measures, you get your face mask, you have your hand sanitizer, you wash your hand regularly. When you get home, first thing you do is spread your clothes outside, and then you shower, whatever, and then when you begin to take care of yourself like this, you're also taking care of other people as well.
Now, businesses, because the lockdown has actually taken a toll on people's finances, banks, a lot of accounts are running empty. And people are in a hurry. I saw a girl saying she has closed down for a while. She has to start again all over. So businesses are going to start feeling it. People that have lost their jobs are going to start feeling it. Now, right now on that angle, talk to the business side. How should businesses begin to respond now to this relaxation?
Well, basically, it's a challenge that has actually come to all of us, and nobody was actually anticipating it, but it is now here. I would want to say at this point, just as we have managed to actually get to this point from the inception of the virus, we can also, in the same vein, apply wisdom to whatever business endeavor we're actually engaged in. For the business people, definitely it's not going to be very, very easy for them. It has eaten deep into our economy as a nation, nationally. And I guess that was why the president actually gave that bill to be signed, the 850 billion naira, I think, to be able to take care of the basic businesses that we actually have nationwide. And I think if we look in that direction and begin to leverage on the little packages the government try to actually put across.
Do you think the packages will get to people, those people who saw on the street that were expressing concern? Do you think this government package will actually get to them? Because they are the Nigerians we are talking about.
Yes, Mr. Charles, as you and I well know, the average man will always tell you God is his source, because we can only hope for what the government can do for the average Nigerian, but we cannot also completely say that we should tie our hands and wait for whatever the government is actually going to bring to the table. At whatever level any individual is, I think we should be able to just gradually pick up from there, and little by little, I think things are actually going to pick up subsequently.
Now, we are still experiencing hardship, this time not just directly from coronavirus, but now from individual reactions. You did mention about buses hiking fares, carrying a whole lot of numbers, I mean, in defiance to the stipulated number of people they have to. So now it's we against ourselves. Because, okay, it's a given, government is not giving you no palliatives. Forget it. Fend for yourself. Now, in the fending for ourselves, does it mean we should heal ourselves as well? Because, I mean, if I'm paying 100 naira to come here before, and now you're charging me 200 because of there's a coronavirus, something is wrong somewhere. That means care for ourselves, care for your neighbor. Like you did say, if you take care of yourself, you're taking care of your neighbor and all of that. But do we really see it in practical terms? Talk about transportation, talk about every other thing. What should we be telling Nigerians right now?
Well, basically, like you said, we are not looking out for each other. Everybody seems to be like trying to cash in the situation, and that is what businesses do most time. Every business that has grown, that has made money, made large profits, it's usually always as a result of taking advantage of a situation, and most times it's crisis situation. We know even in times of war, there are people that come out of that war billionaires, that they made money from it, whatever crisis it is, and this is what is just playing out here. So it's like people go into business without having that less than compassionate side of them in business. They just want to make the quick profit, make the quick gains, because like I said the other time, if because we have coronavirus, it hasn't really affected anything. As a transport company, it hasn't really affected anything. In fact, fuel was even made cheaper for you. The road is now even more free. So it means not like you are going to encounter traffic, so you spend more fuel on the road or whatever. So on what basis are you increasing the fare? Simply because there isn't coronavirus in town and they just want to cash out immediately. So I always tell people that even if you're going to make money, you should also have some sort of human feeling towards you making money. It shouldn't just only be about the money entirely.
Okay, what do you have to say about that? Because there's going to be a crunch now. A lot of people on the road wanting to go to town. Fewer vehicles. Actually, I saw somebody that was saying he has his car, but he doesn't have money to put fuel in the car. So if he somehow manages to put fuel, he's going to want to recoup and make extra.
Exactly.
You understand? So it's maybe like people reacting naturally to wanting to be comfortable, but then making some other people uncomfortable in the process.
Yeah, actually, I really feel that at this point, the government might want to look at it, just like Victor rightly said, the policies that have been actually made available to see how it guides the relaxation. I think there are certain factors that were not also considered, because now we have a relaxation. People want to be rushing to get into cars and all of that. Now the question is, what strategy has been put in place so that the spread does not actually get worse. And then, of course, people cashing in on the situation on ground. I think it would have also been in place in the policy making that the cab drivers should, by way of either adhering to the policy, should carry maybe one passenger in front and then maybe 2 or 3 behind, or however, so that we don't see drivers overflocking the issue, making a mess of the relaxation. Because I know Nigerians, being who we are, some persons will still want to carry 4 at the back and then 2 in front.
And especially when you find out that in reality, some of these people that are now cab drivers might be off-duty policemen or off-duty soldiers who wants to be cash in, like we say. Yeah. And once they come to that checkpoint, they will flash their ID. Comrado, they will pass. So the law is
because
broken.
that has actually been the situation. Yeah. And I can even say that during this lockdown, in the course twice, on the course of going home and coming back to the office, I was actually conveyed by, first person was a soldier, and then the second person was another security officer, which was actually a police. Actually conveyed, and then they charge normal, like normal car driver. So I think as much as we won't try to fault people trying to cash in the situation, but it's just also the basic principle of economics of less than supply and demand. Now we have more demand, few supply, so definitely the price is supposed to go up, even without any factor influencing it.
Yeah, time is fast spent, but we won't leave if we don't touch on, especially this also is very, very key, security. Now, people are tripping out. It definitely has to have a strain on a whole lot of things. The demand and supply, like you said, the maintenance of the laws, because it's going to be broken, the guidelines given, and then in between is law enforcement agency. And then on the other side is a Nigerian that is trying to break the law, either consciously or unconsciously. And then there's this security that's going to react, either consciously or unconsciously, to enforce this law. And in the middle of it, maybe casualties, maybe deaths, maybe injuries or thereabouts. So at this point, what should Nigerians be thinking about now? Aside from safety, staying away from COVID-19. In fact, you might just stay safe from COVID-19 and then die at the hands of somebody that's asking you just to wear your nose mask. And then before you know. So how should Nigerians really take care of, especially security, in terms of enforcement at this point?
Okay, I think in terms of enforcement, I think the security agents, just like I said previously, a legal practitioner was apprehended for actually breaking the law, and he had to pay a particular fine at the end of the day. Looking at it, there's no money anywhere. You are barely trying to feed, and then you are now apprehended, and you still need to bail yourself. So he learned a very, very strong lesson from that. So I think if we should actually see how we can want to strengthen the security agencies, not actually in unlawful, maybe trying to brutalize or trying to get so hard on people, but probably you could want to apprehend, okay, if you don't do the stipulated, necessary, mandated policy, if you don't go by them, okay, you will be apprehended and you need to pay XYZ number of fine. You looking at it, you don't have that money to pay. You would want to actually put yourself in check. Because he told me from that experience, he said he has actually learned he is going to go by whatsoever policies that are actually being proffered. So I think instead of looking at it from the other extreme angle, I think lawbreakers should be apprehended and then probably fined with a particular sum to actually bail themselves out. So with that, I think measures will be taken.
And when it's actually the lawmakers that break the law, what will you do?
Well, first, I think the question that's on ground is how to really mitigate or reduce that kind of loss of competition between the civilians and the military and the security forces that might lead to these casualties. there's no easy way to go about it for two reasons. Because even if you make fines or less than penalties for a particular crime very heavy, you will still find people breaking the law. There are death less than penalty for some certain crimes, but still, there are people who still go ahead to.
So they tell you the laws are made to be broken.
That the law was made for man, not man made for law and stuff like that. And then you also understand that there's also little much we can do because of the kind of training that we give our security agencies. Our security agencies, once they graduate from their academy and they have the uniform, they take up a godlike image above every other person. It's not like what you will see in other Western countries like that. And this is something you see in Nigeria and in most African countries. Like I said, last time, Africa is actually a country because what you get to find in Nigeria is the same thing you find in other parts of the Africa as well. Yes. So that sort of training as well also matter. At the time that we had a death rate of 40 from this COVID-19, it was actually reported that security agencies had actually killed more people in trying to enforce COVID-19 lockdown. So already we had more people dying in the hands of security than people dying in the hands of the COVID-19. So the training in the police colleges, in the NDAs, in whatever academy that they go to, I think that is where basically you're going to start from, because you could find there's still going to be competition between the civilians and the but then
because they are trained to combat the enemy, and then if they come out, who is the enemy? Is it not the civilian?
But some are not supposed to be the enemy because these are
supposed to be the enemy. You know?
Because these are people, and when you look at the fact that let's say security agencies play a very vital PR role for the government. They are like they are like government's contacts, everyday contact with ordinary people. So sometimes they can perceive the government in the way they perceive the security of the forces. If they interact very well with you, cordially, they perform their duties with utmost professionalism and every other thing that you know, they begin to look like the government of this country is responsible. That is why they have the security forces like they. Yeah. Not too long ago, we saw a video that was on the internet, circulating of some people who were still in the academy. They have not yet graduated to become full security officer. But you know what they did? Block the entire express road and make sure that nobody passes. And then they kept saying that, who is that bagger? No bagger can pass here. And then with that confidence and then with that kind of mentality, when they bring it outside, when they graduate come outside, then they begin to look at fellow citizens as baggers, as inferiors. They won't basically listen to those people. This is where the issue comes from. So the thing is like it's a long walk back to this training college. See how we can begin to change their orientation, begin to let them know that this is a professional work. You are like, you know, coming in contact, there's a way you relate with people different from the. Now,
as a sort of reminder, this there's supposed to be a curfew, right?
Yes.
From when to when?
From 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Yes, and I was even going to say something about that because when you say by 8 p.m. everybody should be at home, that is very difficult.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, even if companies close by 3, 4,
the
traffic in the rush hour to get home, people will not get. So what now happens to people who don't get home because of traffic by that time?
So perhaps companies should close earlier, or
so if companies close by let's say 9, and then what are they supposed to close? 12 or 2 or 3? If they close by 3, there will always be traffic. Did you see the traffic we saw on the road coming into the city today? That was heavy. That was so much traffic that you're going to definitely experience them in the rush hour when everybody is still going home.
Particularly when you have the security operatives having to checkmate people, you know, part time, you know, it takes a very long time
to make sure that
you know, to clear the road and all of that. So
do you see that curfew working perfectly, or is it going to also
definitely it's not going to work perfectly. Definitely it's not going to.
It's not even going to work close to perfectly.
So it wasn't a well thought out plan.
Of course.
It wasn't. Like you need to look. You see, there are a lot of things.
There were modalities that were supposed to be professionally considered.
Perhaps curfew wouldn't have been part of it.
Because
if you had allowed people to
coffee should have
during the day, so why shut them down
at night?
Yeah, perhaps maybe coffee should have
been. So you want to ask yourself what's the difference between the night and the day? So will you have lesser casualties at night and then, you know?
Yeah, like maybe if they're going to be coffee, maybe not that early, not like 10 p.m. Yeah, maybe around that time, 9, 10, maybe 10. because just give people time to get home. Because if company closed, like I will use, because the traffic in Abuja is not that less and notorious like when you compare in Lagos. So, but then you know that even if you work on the island and your company closes by 3, you know that before one time you would have passed the Tomiland Bridge, you have passed the Oroshoki, whatever places that you follow, and you experience traffic, you'd have gotten home. Because basically, some people leave island by that 4, 5, and they don't get home till like 11.
You see, looking at it, fortunately or unfortunately, this curfew, so said, might not really affect the high-profile Nigerians.
Whatever affects high-profile, what is
they just come and then they just pass with their siren and the security aids with them, So it doesn't actually have a toll on them.
No, of course, there is nothing basically that ever goes on in this country that affects the elite or the big personalities, you will say. Even if you're talking about that, even when we get to the place where we are running out of bed spaces in this country, once the VIP falls into COVID-19, a bed space is going to manufacture from somewhere else, then it will be taken care of. Wow. So that's not an issue.
All right, it's been the COVID-19 Situation Room of Television Nigeria, and we've been talking about the lockdown situation that was eased, looking at the highs and the lows of the actions that actually culminated to the decision of government. But all in whatever said and done, it still boils down to you, Nigerian, adhering to the instructions. Stay at home if you don't have to go to town. Maintain the social distancing, wear the face mask. Do everything possible not to get that virus, because like Mr. Victor said, if you get it in this part of the world, you are most likely going to die. Well, it might sound hilarious, but man, it might be not very far from the truth. So let's do everything possible. The stringent measures given for the lockdown, please try to adhere. And when you get to meet a security enforcement agent, please be nice. If you have fallen short of the law and they apprehend you, please be nice. And don't just get caught. Do the right thing and you will not get caught. And if you remain safe and healthy, we will always converge here on the Situation Room to talk about COVID-19. And of course, like we keep saying, one day will also come to celebrate the end of COVID-19. It has been Victor Temba with me, and then
Comrade Michael Asupo.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Situation Room of Television Nigerian. And also to you out there, thanks so much for being a part of it. Let's do this again, same time tomorrow. Bye for now. I remain Charles Ibe.